Hi guys, today we're going to talk about resizing your images in Lightroom. So your photos that you took the other day at the Heritage Center, we're going to talk about resizing those and getting them ready to place on your Weebly site. So we talked about resizing photos before, but I didn't feel like that the way that I conveyed that information was super easy to understand. So that's why we're doing just this quick video, and it shouldn't take very long. And once you get started going with this resizing whole process, it should be super easy and simple for you. So here we are in Lightroom. The reason why I use Lightroom to export photos for your website is that it is easy. Like I said, once you get going with it, it'll be a piece of cake for you. So first of all, we need to import your photos into Lightroom. So you're going to hit the import button once Lightroom is loaded up and ready to go. So hit import down in the lower left here. And then just navigate to where your photos are located. So I put mine in a folder on the desktop that's called Heritage Center, and then November of 2017, or when we were there. So automatically it puts this little check mark in the upper right hand or upper left hand corner. That means that one's selected, right? So you can either check all or uncheck all. We're going to check all because these are all the ones that I want to import. So all of them are checked. So now we can hit the import button, and there we go. They are imported into my library in Lightroom. We'll talk more about what you can do in Lightroom as far as editing of your photos. We're not going to do a lot of that today. We're just going to export these guys as a smaller file size so that they're ready for your Weebly site. So up here, I went from the library where all of my photos are just sort of cataloged, I would say. Here in the develop module, this is where you could do some editing, and all of your editing tools are over here. Like I said, we'll talk about that later. So what we're going to do now is we are going to just talk about strictly exporting these guys. So right now I just have this first one selected. I need to select all of the photos that I want to export. So I'm going to hit Control A. Sorry, I'm going to click in this area and hit Control A, and now all of these are highlighted. Notice that if I would click off of these, none of them are highlighted. It's this sort of medium gray color. I'm going to click in that area again and hit Control A. So they're all highlighted. So they're all selected. 22 photos. You took way more than this. I just took a little excerpt of those photos for this project. So now, drag that up here. So now we are going to go to File and Export. And this is, again, what we talked about with that, all of that information that I had typed out for you guys. I didn't think that it was, I don't know, it was hard to read, to put it simply. Okay, so now we're going to choose where you're exporting it to. I'm going to export mine to the desktop. I will put them in, actually I'm going to choose a specific folder. So I'm going to choose a folder on my desktop. That's the Heritage Center. Yours might look slightly different, again, because I'm working on a Mac. I'm just going to call them LR for Lightroom resized. So I know that I resized them in Lightroom. I like to do mine this way. You don't necessarily have to, but you need to come up with a system so that all of your photos are organized and you know exactly sort of what state they're in, whether they're in the original state, the way you took them, or if they have been run through Lightroom and resized. We'll talk later about watermarking your images, so maybe you have a separate folder for that. But like I said, put these in a folder so that you know where they're at and keep it consistent. So do the same thing every time. They don't all necessarily need to go in the same folder, but organize your files in the same sort of way every time. Okay, so I'm just scrolling down here. The important parts of this dialog box are the export location, so we know where those files are going to. We're going to skip past a bunch of this stuff for right now. We're going to go down to this image sizing section. So you want to click on this. So you see a check mark right there. We want to go resize to fit and long edge. You can do this a bunch of different ways. And according to where you read your information, a lot of places say different things, but they all end up with sort of the same result. So we're just going to go, just for consistency purposes, we're going to go with just long edge, and then we're going to put in 1,000 pixels right here. So make sure that it's not inches or centimeters or anything like that. this isn't really going to matter too much right now. Your resolution is not going to be 240 as you're viewing it on the screen. It'll be 72, so don't worry about that right now. We'll go 1,000 pixels. You don't need to do any of this right now. I had my watermark on here, but I'm gonna uncheck that, so no watermark, and you can leave that alone. So now I'll just hit export, and I can watch the progress up here in the upper left-hand corner. So we're exporting my 22 files. Like I mentioned, you'll have way more than 22. You should have at least 50. That was what was on the, or we had 48, I think, on the checklist. You should have at least that many, probably way more. If you're like me, you take a lot of photos. Okay, so now I'm just going to pull that folder over here, and now I'm going to open up the folder, and I should see my new folder, my new subfolder within this folder. That's called LR Resized. And now if I right click on this guy, I'll see the size of it, and 93 kilobytes is what it's at. So that's a perfect size for my website. And that's what we're going to do with these images, is we are going to upload them to our Weebly sites. But that was just a quick and easy way to resize your photos in Lightroom. Again, we'll be doing a lot of this, but as you do it more and more, it will get easier and easier. And it should take literally like a minute to do this sort of thing. It'll be a little bit more when you're doing any editing of your photos, but since we're not doing that right now, that's as quick as it should be. Okay, so if you have any questions about any of that, just let me know. All right, bye.